Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. We are back in the pub, the Rookery on Clapham Common. Look who's back. Christopher Hamill, Patrick Van Straten.
Hi.
How was your time away?
Oh, yeah, I was away. Yeah, it was good. It was fine.
Where did you go?
I went to the south of France.
Oh, I bet you did. Why weren't you here last week?
Why wasn't I here last week?
You were away?
I was. Where was I?
I don't know, as if I know the answer
The
to that
Bermuda
question.
Triangle. I don't know. I've honestly forgotten.
Okay, well, you was away anyway. We're moving on because this week's episode of Sunday Vibes is brought to you by our good friends at Manscaped. Yes, they are back with a new performance package, the 4.0 Reveal It Hamster.
Right, okay, so we've got the weed whacker here. That is for Joe. He did pull a nose hair out with his bare fists. That's right, his bare fists before we started.
So that's for your nose and ears.
That is for your nose and ears.
I've ripped the box.
And this is for the rest. Well done, Joe. We're going to carry on like that never happened. Seamless. So this is the Lawnmower 4.0 set. This is the... What is going on?
Oh, Jesus.
Coming back in then with some of the features of the new Lawnmower 4.0. It's now sleeker, it's sexier, like all good updates. It has an LED light on it, so you can shave your balls in the dark.
And it's small, so it makes your penis look bigger.
If
by
that's
proportion.
your sort of thing. Hey,
Right.
true though, bloody true. Let's go through the rest of the box then. Ball wipes, where are they? Who at FD needs ball wipes?
Everyone.
Zach.
McCubbin.
Right.
Those are boxes.
The boxers, I can confirm these are excellent to jog in. Plenty of space.
Oh.
Really breathable. Yeah, you take
Thanks,
them.
I'll take those.
You take them.
Put those in my
That's the
pocket.
plug.
It's the accessories as well there.
What else do we have?
Ball preservative. Oh, no.
Ball deodorant. Who has the smelliest balls at FD? And the last thing I've got to say is that there's some crop reviver here. After a night out, if you don't plan on showering the next day, this is the one. You know, because it might not be your house. You might not feel comfortable using the shower. Genuinely, though, of all the products we've used, that actually is exceptional.
100%. I've got the Joe Thomason seal of approval.
The best of everything we've ever plugged.
Apparently it's got the seal of approval of over 2 million people, so you're actually in good company.
Segues.
So head over to manscaped.com to get 20% off and free shipping using the code FootballDaily20. Your balls will thank you. Thanks to Manscaped.
Right, let's move on to the headline topic then, and it was sent in by Sarah, and she says, I'm guessing it's a she, could be a he,
Yeah.
I hope it's a she.
says, which team will be surprise of the season? Now, we're going to extend this to individual players
Yes,
as
we
well,
are.
so we're doing kind of a surprise as a whole.
We are.
Have we got somebody that we want to talk about straight away? I believe Everton is quite high on our
I
priority
have
list.
put Everton down. I would like to talk about Everton because people, or Everton fans specifically, weren't happy when Rafa Benitez was employed because of his past links with Liverpool. Neither were Liverpool fans when he was
Yes.
employed because they saw him as somewhat of a traitor. We've always been Rafa Benitez fans, haven't we? Did
Yes.
an incredible job at Newcastle, has won silverware wherever he's gone. So I'm
Other
not
than
shocked
Newcastle.
that they've made a solid start to the season. Yeah, apart from Newcastle.
Yeah.
So 3 wins and 1 draw in their opening 4 games. Of course, the level of competition hasn't been, right up there, but faced some handy sides in the form of Leeds and Brighton. Drew 2-2 with Leeds, beat Brighton 2-0. Of course, beat Southampton and Burnley as well. Have come from behind in an awful lot of those games as well. So yeah, they're one of 4 teams on 10 points. And I think what's been really impressive is that they made a £5.5 million profit in the summer. I actually looked at Everton's transfer marks, and it's the first summer since 2014-15 where they've not spent at least £40 million. How crazy is that? So, yeah, he's had to make do with what he's got, and of course added a couple of savvy additions in the form of Andros Townsend and Damari Gray, who we have to talk about because we thought they were really underwhelming transfers.
Yeah.
And they've really impressed so far, haven't they? Particularly Damari Gray, who's got 3 goal involvements in I think as many starts. So yeah, what do you guys think then about Everton? Have you caught much of them? Have you been impressed with their playing style? Because their underlying numbers point towards a side who are making the best with what they've got. Not the easiest on the eye all the time, but have been effective, Pat.
I mean, yeah, they've been better early doors than I expected, but I do think Rafa Benitez is a good manager. And the thing is, the issue I have with Everton, though, is that I think their first 11, fine. I think Rafa is good, but they're so fragile. Like, that squad is really, really thin. And I think it's, again, as always, it's like Richarlison gets injured or Calvert-Lewin gets injured, and then suddenly we're in serious trouble. One of the fullbacks gets injured.
Calvert-Lewin is injured, by the way.
Is he actually?
3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, but 3 weeks. I mean more like like a long-term injury, because I think you can fade it with Richarlison, and they haven't used James at all, obviously. Though I think it's hard to see quite how he fits into the formation. I don't know, man.
He's never going to play for Everton again, man. James.
You think not?
I'm choking on a bit of popcorn, by the way.
I just don't see how you can recover from some of the things he said. For one, like very rude, I think, about Everton on Twitch, and some of the comments about the club as a whole. And also, I just think that he doesn't fit, like you say, at all into Benitez's way of playing, which is he wants everybody out there to be given 100% at all times. You can't have a passenger in a Benitez system.
Yeah.
And I think he would be a passenger.
I get that, but this basically then confirms what I'm saying. I just think that Everton, and we've said this for the last couple of seasons, Everton are 1 or 2 injuries away from disaster, and it has basically been the case. Every season you think, oh, they're really, really good, and then it's 1 or 2 injuries, and the wheels don't entirely come off, but they certainly are not particularly straight on the axle. So, I mean, I'd be more inclined for somebody who I think is in a position to succeed, for the answer to this question. And I think that someone like Patson Daka might be quite interesting here.
Oi! Even though he's not really getting any minutes.
But I think he will. I think at the moment, and I turned on a little bit of Leicester-Napoli in the Europa League last night, and the commentator was saying, for the time being, Daka's just going to be back up to Jamie Vardy. And I think that is how he's seen for the moment, and I think that's fair enough. But I think by the end of the season, because he can play off the left and because he can play as a striker, I expect him to get a decent number of minutes. Everyone they've got is actually, apart from Vardy, can play in more than one position.
Yeah.
So I think that he will get a decent amount of rotation with European football as well. And I just think that he's an extra goal-scoring threat. I really, really like Harvey Barnes, but he is not as much of a goal-scoring threat. I really like Ademola Lookman, but obviously he hasn't had consistent minutes still at this point in his career. So who is the guy who's going to be the best goal-scorer after Jamie Vardy in that side? I think it probably will be Daka. He'll be the one getting on the end of passes. So I think
it has been a bit of a problem for Leicester recently, creating and scoring. James Maddison's output is significantly down, struggling. I think he hasn't had a goal and an assist for some time now. Maybe going back to sort of last season.
Yeah, I remember seeing that tweet where it was February last year or something like that. Along those lines.
It's a long way. I can't remember exactly what it was. So Patson Daka might need to step up and start scoring some goals.
But I think that's okay though, because if you have Daka, then you can play Iheanacho a bit deeper, which is actually how he came up. Right? He came up as more of an attacking mid at Man City. It means that Barnes doesn't have to do everything on his own. And also I think they can afford to push Tielemans forward. Remember that first half season, Tielemans came in from Monaco. I think he got pretty much a goal or assist every game. Well, now they've got Soumaré, who's a really good forward passer. They can afford to push Tielemans up a little bit more, let him get into the box, and rely on Soumaré to do the passing into the final third. So maybe that will help a little bit.
What do we think about Yuri's contract? Because it's up in 2023. And I watched the interview on Sky Sports he did this week when he was saying, "Oh, I might sign it, I might not sign it. I'm not going to reveal anything yet." I think that's an issue for Leicester, losing Tielemans in 2023. Next summer, with 1 year left on his contract, it's going to be a lot of interested parties.
Yeah, but you can sell him, can't you? I don't think he's that good. I like Tielemans. I do think he's a good player, but I think now they've got Soumaré, and I wouldn't care that much. I don't think he's a game-changing player for them.
I think he would start in pretty much every midfield in the Premier League, other than maybe Man City.
I'll disagree.
That's crazy.
I would disagree to an extent with the fact he isn't a game changer.
Doesn't he get in?
Chelsea's, Liverpool's.
I think he gets pretty close to that Chelsea midfield, man. I think he gets as many minutes as Kovacic, and I think he's potentially a better player.
Manchester City and Liverpool probably see him as a succession plan for various positions as well, sort of in conjunction with his contract running out or entering the final year of his contract, having not signed a new one. So, yeah, Leicester do have to be really wary of it. Do you guys want to finish talking about Leicester? Because I want to go back to Everton, man. I feel like we've done them a disservice there. I think they have just been... we need to talk about Townsend a little bit more. We need to talk about Gray. When I put this out on Twitter, Gray was the unanimous answer to players who had shocked fans in this season. And I, for one, completely wrote Demarai Gray off. I didn't really put much effort into keeping tabs on him while he was at Leverkusen. Had a productive 6 months there, didn't he? I didn't know if he was reprogrammed or if he got any better as a result of going out to the Bundesliga. But he's come back, and the way that Rafa Benitez is utilising him would suggest, to go back to one of your earlier points, that James Rodriguez is not going to get back into this team, because now Everton are truly a counter-attacking side, and they're doing it really, really well.
They're so direct.
Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend top for progressive carriage, which is unsurprising. Of course, still a lot of players still going through Coleman, still going through Digne. Like they've kept that about them. That's been the case the last 2-3 years, hasn't it? They've always been quite reliant on those wide fullbacks. But yeah, Townsend and Gray, a killer in the transition. And I've got a stat down here. They've created 6 opportunities from turnovers deep in their own half already. Only 3 of the other 19 sides have managed more, and that is something they didn't have last campaign. You know, that ability to break like at frightening pace. And I still, you look at some of the numbers, like you guys might find this interesting. Like the underlying numbers still aren't shit hot for either player. So I think Demarai Gray only taking like 2.1 shots, which is okay, but 1.1 of them outside the box. Andros Townsend, I think only taking 1.4 shots, all from outside of the box. So.
Yep.
This level of output,
That's Andros Townsend.
This level of output might not be sustainable, but they've started really, really well, and it's bought them enough goodwill, I think, Everton, to just keep progressing slowly in the background. Definitely. They've got a couple hard games coming up.
Well, I think Decore has been one of the outstanding midfielders in the league so far this season under Benitez. Like, totally revitalised his position. I think no longer is he. Like, effectively, when James was there, he was asked to do all of James'
He was
babysitting
for James on the right-hand side, wasn't he?
Yeah, whereas now, when he can drift into those left-hand pockets as well, he's got the freedom to get into the box way more like he was at Watford. I think a goal and 3 assists so far this season. The pass against Burnley, man, is just out of this world. Like, he's such a good footballer. And alongside Alan, when Alan can do the dirty work and give him the ball to distribute and keeps it very simple, I think that's a really nice little duo. So I think Benitez is going to have, as we thought, like pretty decent success with this Everton side because he feels like a real Everton manager. Like, he's going to make the most of exactly what he's got at the club. He's going to improve a vast number of the players there. Calvert-Lewin's going to score a bucket load of goals under him, and I'm sure maybe next summer, the season after, might move on to bigger and better things eventually, Calvert-Lewin, than Everton. No offence to the Everton fans out there. But Benitez is fine. Like, he's going to do the job. The only issue we ever had with Benitez was the fact that he had the Liverpool connection. And
it's strange, isn't it, that, like, Everton won their first 7 games last season, and we're all hailing sort of a potential new era under Ancelotti. They were trying to become a more ball-dominant side. Benitez has just completely flipped that on its head. They're averaging, like, only Burnley average less possession than them per 90 in the Premier League at the moment. Like, they don't want the ball. What they want to do is just hit you on the counter with their speedy players.
And hit it long.
Yeah, or get those crosses in nice and early for Calvert-Lewin. But then you lose Calvert-Lewin, you lose that focal point. Yes, Richarlison can step in, or you lose one of those quick players, and it does come undone at the seams quickly because, it doesn't look like they have as a compelling plan B.
But fair play to Rafa, because, like you said, we weren't fans of that window. Like, the window was, on paper, very poor. I think Everton fans weren't happy with that window either.
It is still a poor window.
And he's really going to have to make the best of what he's got, and I think he probably will. Like, he's doing a very good job, Rafa, already from what we've seen.
What would you two deem a success for Everton this season?
A top-half finish.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think 8th would be great for them.
Yeah.
Like, so probably between 8th and 10th. But I think they should definitely do that. Their 2 forwards are really, really good. Really good.
Like Calvert-Lewin, I think it is just the most athletic number 9 I can remember in like decades in terms of like...
He is the full package.
Yeah, in terms of aerial ability, it's scary. It's like, he's obviously not Ronaldo, but he's potentially the best header of a ball in attacking positions I've seen since like prime Ronaldo. Like, when he can climb up above players by 3 foot.
I think he's better. I think he's better than that, though, right? Because he will win the ball against like pretty much any defender and hold it up as well.
Unbelievable. His actual physical dominance is unbelievable at this point. But he's also an amazingly good technical footballer. Like, his ceiling's really high, Calvert-Lewin, I think.
Yeah. But the beneficiary of a couple of penalties at the start of the season, only scored 1 goal from open play. But even against Leeds, like, he should have had a hatful there. He was getting into really good positions. And I think the core, to go back to what you were saying earlier, is creating like 4 shot creating actions per night. It's the highest of his career, I think, or at least since Watford, when he played in a little bit more of an advanced role. So there's a steady supply to Calvert-Lewin as well, and you imagine he's going to, with Digne on the left, Coleman on the right, Richarlison hovering around him, Decore looking more advanced. Like, the opportunities won't dry up, which is kind of what happened at the tail end of last season. They got really boring, didn't they, in the last 10 games?
But Carlo, I definitely think, improved Dominic in such a way that he could, like, his movement in and around the box and in and around the 6-yard box rapidly improved under Carlo Ancelotti, I think. I don't know whether they were working on it on the training ground or something like that, because he was scoring really like tight goals from like good areas.
Predatory,
like,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Tap-ins,
all of his shots
close range headers
come from inside the box this season, which is indicative of that. What you're saying.
Yeah, so he's becoming like a real poacher, as well as a guy who can hold the ball up 30 yards from goal, as well as a guy who can win headers in his own box and the opposition's box. Like, he's going to be a serious player when he's like 25, 26. In terms of other teams, a lot of people at home will be saying Brighton, I guess, but are we that shocked about Brighton? Because we were so hot on Brighton last season. They were well up the table in our eyes, but they obviously ended up being in the scrap. This season, they are just going to be in and around mid-table, which is where they probably should have been last year as well. So it's not that much of a shock. I think a player, though, actually at Brighton, I think Shane Duffy deserves a bit of a shout-out for most shocking start to the season, because I think we'd probably written him off, especially after that like disastrous loan at Celtic.
Yes.
Whereas he's actually been really good at the start of this season. He looks competent in the heart of that back three alongside Webster and Duffy. He deserves a lot of plaudits for turning it around.
Well, one of the things that didn't work from at Celtic when he was deployed in the back three by Neil Lennon is that he was the middle defender.
Yeah.
And Dunk is the ball player at Brighton, isn't he? And Adam Webster, very capable of travelling out, breaking lines with the ball at his feet. So he doesn't actually have to do a lot of the technical shit at Brighton. What he's exceptional at is getting in the way and loves, an aerial duel. So I think what Graham Potter's done is just try to, emphasise his strengths, complement them with players around him, and it works. It didn't at Celtic because, he was asked to be like Beckenbauer, and that he is not. But I think Brentford have probably been more surprising than Brighton at the start of this season, at least for us. Expected points has them down as 6th. Do you have any fond memories of Brentford from the match day one against Arsenal? Did anyone grab your attention from the get-go?
Not so much that one. Like I wasn't particularly impressed by Brentford in that game. Like, they gave up a lot of shots to quite a weakened Arsenal side. And I think when you look, the second goal probably shouldn't have stood. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where I think like that wasn't when I was watching them play it. That isn't how I've seen Brentford play in the past. Where they stop you completing passes in their penalty area and they can rip you apart with clever movement at the other end. That isn't quite how that game panned out. But I guess like I don't know. I kind of thought Brentford would be okay. It'll be interesting to see what Ivan Toney ends up doing. But to me, they're kind of like a light version of Brighton. I don't think they have quite the talent, but they are kind of like that sort of interesting team. They want to play attacking, creative football. They've got an interesting manager. They want to press really high. It remains to be seen whether they have like the defensive skill at this level, I guess. But I'm not worried about them really in terms of relegation. I think they'll probably be pretty safe.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other players here.
I think Wolves are an interesting.
Yeah, Wolves. I was going to say, literally, I was about to talk about Wolves. I think under Bruno Lage, way more exciting, way more fun to watch. If you're a Wolves fan, you're loving it right now. Even though the first 3 results went against you, probably should have won all 3 of those games. To be honest with you, should have beaten United, should have beaten Tottenham, should have beaten Leicester, really. And Raul Jimenez is coming back a bit slowly, doesn't quite look the same as he was, but Adama Traore is putting up 10 dribbles a game right now.
That's so great.
I
love that guy, man.
It does belie the kind of notion that it takes ages to turn a team round and incorporate your ethos, doesn't it? Because they were so passive, so defensive last season, and Bruno Lage has ripped up the script, hasn't he, and got them playing really fun attacking football straight away. So that's really impressive. And also, it shows people are well capable of doing that.
Yeah, I was listening to a Wolves podcast though the other day actually on The Athletic, and they were talking. They had, I think his name's Tim Spires on there, and they were talking about whether Nuno had effectively taken this Wolves side as far as he could, playing the way he was, like with that defensive structure, wanted to hit teams on the break. Can you get above consecutive 7th place finishes playing that way? Like, it's so defensive. It's quite readable, and it does struggle to break teams down that are worse than you. So I think a lot of Wolves' hierarchy saw Bruno Lage as like the next progression. Like, okay, we've got as far as we can effectively under Nuno, even though because they ended up parting ways, didn't they? Really, Nuno and Wolves, right? It wasn't like he went to Tottenham.
Yeah, but he tried to be a bit more expansive, didn't he?
But
does he have to know how to exact that?
I don't know whether does he have to know how. It didn't quite work out, did it? So I wonder whether now, like those
clearly
players,
the personnel, because Lage is doing it, right?
And I think the players now are thinking, okay, like the shackles are off a bit here. Like, they've got some exceptional talents in that squad. They've got a really good defensive unit from where Nuno drilled them exceptionally hard at the back, and they know exactly what they're doing back there. And now they've got a bit more freedom to go forward, that they potentially can go a level further and be a better team. I'm not saying they'll finish better than 7th, because I don't think they will.
And we should acknowledge that that progression is so hard, isn't it? Taking Wolves beyond 7th is like no mean feat.
Well,
And I'm not saying they will.
Leicester and you think like Wolves are not like that dissimilar, right? Like Wolves also actually have quite a lot of money behind them, and they've got a really good squad. Like Leicester are beyond Wolves. There's no reason that Wolves can't look at them and think, with the right sort of savvy acquisitions, we might be able to reach that level. And guys like Trincao, which is like a great market opportunity they've taken advantage of, like those are the ones that could maybe push them up into that slightly higher level. And then maybe there's a manager after Lage who's like the guy.
Yeah, because we're still not seeing Pedro Neto. He's not back for another month. You know, Hwang Hee-chan scored in his debut, but another great option in terms of depth going forward as well, especially as they didn't have a striker behind Jimenez when he picked up that injury. Now you look at that front line with a little bit more depth. Hwang can play through the middle potentially. Neto's yet to come back. Trincao can play in lots of different areas.
Fabio's a year older.
Adama's playing on the left now, and kind of as almost a striker at times when he makes those runs through. So I really like what Bruno Lage is trying to do, and I know that they started with no points, but they really should be in and around that sort of 10-point mark right now.
Well, remember when we said that Max Allegri would be like a really outlandish appointment for them, like a really ambitious appointment for them, and then look at the start he's made at Juventus this season, kind of playing that pragmatic style of football. And look at the start Lage has made, and I wonder how many Wolves fans would actually trade the pair of them right now. It's mind-boggling, but like more progressive managers definitely get more bandwidth from their fan bases.
Yeah, the fans love Bruno Lage right now, and I know there wasn't really a recruitment process to bring him in. Like there wasn't a heavy interview process. It was like, George, who's your go-to guy here, George? And George Mendes just gave them Bruno Lage, but it's working, and he seems like a really good manager. I'm trying to think, is there any other players that we want to talk about?
What about just as a little pivot from Wolves then? What do we make of the job that Nuno's done at the start of the season? Because I thought quite fortunate going into match week 4 to be in the position that they were, and he'd won Manager of the Month. There was a lot of feel good around the club, but against I think Watford and potentially. Who else was it? They were very fortunate to secure all 3 points.
I mean, they've been fortunate at the start of the season in pretty much all 3 of those games.
Before Palace gave them an absolute slapping.
I mean, other than City,
the Palace game is
like City, you can say, okay, legitimately that was a good performance. City are an exceptional team on the ball. You're not going to get it off them, and that suits Nuno down to the ground. You can hit him on the break, and I think they deserve to beat City opening day. Since then.
A draw would have been fair, I thought,
Yeah, okay. Whatever. They should deserve to get something out of that. That's their best performance of the season, Man City. Since then,
it's not crazy they won.
They've underperformed against the opposition, I think, consistently. Like, they're so negative. So negative. Like, to put out a midfield 3 of Skip, Winks, and Højbjerg
against
Palace, like, that was one of the. I said it on Winners News. That was one of the worst Tottenham performances I've ever watched. Like,
even against Rennes last night, I think they gave up like 18, 20 shots, something like that.
It's incredible.
To Rennes in
honestly.
the Europa Conference League.
Palace put up, I think, 25 shots. They had 2.
And it wasn't like it was just after the red as well, right? Like, they were getting hugely outshot before that happened.
Literally just took the words out of my mouth. Like, the first 45 were hideous. That is one of the worst halves of Premier League football I've watched in an awfully long time. And they only they only managed 2 shots all game. Even with 10 men,
they were terrible.
If you're a club that has top 6 aspirations, you should be able to play more of a part than that in the game, and it was shocking. Conor Gallagher looked like he was a Ballon d'Or winner in comparison to who he was up against.
But like, this is the thing: you've got Tanguy and Ndombele on the bench, who is out of favour, yes, and we don't know what goes on the training ground, so it is hard to say why he's not playing, because clearly
he did play last night.
There's issues, but he's yet to play a minute of Premier League football, I think, so far this season. And they're crying out for progressive.
Celso was out,
but they're crying out for a progressive, creative midfielder. That can move the ball from the defence into the final third, which is exactly what Tanguy's really good at. And he won't play. I bet you he doesn't start against Chelsea on Sunday. There's just no way.
Because he's seen
Nuno
as a defensive liability.
Exactly. It'll probably be Højbjerg, Skip, like Winks. Like,
do you know what's a defensive liability? Not being able to get the ball past your own fucking halfway line.
And Harry Kane will be totally isolated. I think Son, they might rush back for that game, but like. Against Chelsea, like, they will just break you down with that width if you're just going to sit deep and sit deep and sit deep. I think it's so negative. Tottenham fans aren't going to give him the same bandwidth that Wolves give Bruno Lage, because if it's entertaining and you're losing by the skin of your teeth, but you're having 25 shots and you're flying forward and you're chucking them in. People are like, you know what, at least it's good to watch. When you're losing and you've got 8 men behind the ball at all times and you're Tottenham, people get quickly pissed off.
And especially when you've seen almost this identical talent produce like 20 shots a game.
Exactly.
Like they have been a high shot volume team. They have been an exciting side in the very recent past. Like, and it wasn't like under Pochettino they had no weak spots. Like, he was just able to kind of deal with those. But I still I feel like I'm banging this drum all the time, but I still think Spurs have an amazing squad. I look at Spurs' squad and I think this is really, really good. Like when you think that they could play a midfield three of like Lo Celso, Ndombele and Højbjerg, and still have Ali there as well. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. But as soon as like Son gets injured, it's like they're out of ideas.
What profile of manager do you think would match that squad well then? If not Nuno, is it just a case of going and finding a guy?
We're not saying he should be sat there, are we?
No, as close to Pochettino as possible. No, but we're on about like squeezing the best out of that talent that he's got.
Well, I mean, the best manager available who would potentially work for the talent as well is obviously someone like Kante. Like, I mean, I could definitely see
they tried
how
for it, flopped it, didn't they?
Yeah, but I can understand that, like, because who knows what he asked for and blah blah blah. No. But like, he would obviously be the guy. Failing that, it's the same as the answer for Arsenal. It's the same as the answer for any Premier League side who's probably looking for a new manager. It's probably Graham Potter. Like, he'd be a really interesting guy for them to get.
I think I would be frustrated if I was a Spurs fan. I think Nuno will be fine and they will finish solidly, but I'm just not convinced about this style and this brand of football.
Yeah,
they'll find the balance.
I don't see him finishing above 7th, given how they're playing, and you know the fact that Harry Kane's only averaging like 0.9 shots, pretty indicative of like the whole mood at the club. Yes, he's only appeared 3 times in the Premier League. I think only 2 of those were starts, but he looks sluggish, like a little bit lackluster, and I think that is just them down to a T at the moment. They're just really bad to watch.
Yeah. I'm thinking of another player now actually for this that I think is a good shout is Gabrielle Jesus, like in this new right wing role that
Ferran Torres
Pep's got him developed into, and I think Pep finally admitted it. Was it game week 2 when he was like, look, Gabriel Jesus isn't a striker for me. Like, he's not going to be a number 9. He's going to play out on the wing. And it's suiting Gabriel Jesus down to the ground. He's playing so well out there, and Ferran Torres does have that instinctive movement in and around the box. So I think that's quite a shock that we actually are now seeing Gabriel Jesus progress to a winger rather than being a number 9, because lots of people a year ago would have said he's going to be the natural heir to Aguero's throne. Clearly he's not. It's not going to happen under Pep as a number 9.
It was a shock, City not having a contingency plan for not getting Kane right at number 9. We thought they might go for someone else, particularly if they wanted to kick on with the Champions League, etc. But yeah, once again, like this is what Pep does, isn't it? He deals with these 100%. Issues really well, and this is where, like, I think you said it maybe last week that like top managers do this, and Ole needs to do it in the absence of a world-class defensive midfielder.
There isn't an excuse.
Need to find solutions.
Find solutions. Play Fred and Scott there if you have to, but like find solutions. That's what Pep's done. Any other shouts then for players here that we want to name check?
So I got a few that I'll run past Pat then, because a few suggestions.
Okay.
Some Arsenal fans on Twitter are not very happy, understandably, given the start of the season. Someone tweeted me saying Xhaka is getting worse, and that Rob Holding is one of the worst players I've seen pull on the red and white. Are they fair?
So harsh that on Holding, surely.
Not really. I mean, I don't know if Xhaka's getting worse. I think this is what he's always been, is it not? Like, it's just like your tolerance is lower with every passing year.
Do you think people expected after those Euros performances him to come back like a man rejuvenated or something?
Maybe, but I think that was just like misguided, right? Like, I think that international football, especially after a year of COVID, probably suits Granit Xhaka because he just gets time on the ball to ping passes. And
good point.
And we talked about him on the podcast this week, which was all about Arsenal. George Wright Doogie and I chatted this over, and if you give him time on the ball, he's a great passer. The problem with Granit Xhaka is not a lack of technical ability. Like, it's just that he's an idiot. He does stupid things. And, you know, one pass out of every 20 is, like, calamitously dangerous. Like, just played square across the pitch. I mean, I don't have that much of an issue with Xhaka, except for the fact that I got my hopes up that he was leaving in the summer and then they were dashed. Because I'm just sick of seeing him at the club. But Rob Holding, I think, is totally fine. We paid $2 million for Rob Holding. He's perfectly fine.
I agree.
Like, who cares?
There's much worse issues at Arsenal than Rob Holding.
Arsenal fans get like this. They did it with Bellerin as well. They were just like, you know what must be wrong with Arsenal? It must be that Hector Bellerin is a vegan. Like, that's what they settled on, because they just can't string together 2 thoughts in their little brains. It's just like, no, there are bigger problems.
The focus on individuals, it does get quite nasty and quite unnecessary, doesn't it? But on the flip side, I did see you tweet about Declan Rice. I thought you might want to talk about Declan Rice in a positive manner.
I mean, it's not a shock anymore. I don't think Declan Rice. I think he's legitimately one of the top 5 like under 23 defensive midfielders or centre mids in the world now. Like he is startlingly good. Whenever I watch him, he is the best player on the pitch by a mile. He 100% needs to be playing in the Champions League next season. Like, he's no longer just a break-up man that sits and takes tackles and wins little interceptions and passes little soft balls off. Like, his ball carrying ability is outrageous. The goal against
soft balls was definitely a Manscaped.
Yeah, I was literally thinking like,
does he use ball wipes?
Who was the goal against last night? Zagreb. The goal against Zagreb.
2-0 away with Zagreb's no joke.
Yeah, where he picks the ball up in the centre of the park with clever bit of positioning, interception, drives past one man, drives past another, hits it with his left. It's so good. Like, it's such a good goal. And I remember him doing something really similar against Leicester in 2020 where he won it and surged forward and smacked it and hit the crossbar. He's done it a couple of times now, and we saw it, what I think most notably was the final of the Euros, when he was able to pick the ball up and just go, okay, settle the game down. I'm stronger than you. I'll knock you off the ball, carry it 10, 15 yards, progress the... He is the full package, I think, Declan Rice. And I would be shocked if he's not out of Man City next season.
He's like a big guy that's more mobile than people give him credit for. It reminds me like Milinkovic-Savic 2 years ago, where he's just super mobile and he's over 6.
Yeah, and do you know what it is? Is people go, oh, you know, it's English, like, this is such English bias. Like, is he that good or is he just English? He is that good. Honestly, if he wasn't English and he was playing abroad, people would be talking about him in the same sort of breaths as, like, Camavinga and that level player, because he is just outrageous, Declan Rice. Just because he's at West Ham is not his fault, firstly, and that's no slight because West Ham are doing really well, and I think him and Souček are arguably the best midfield pairing in the league, or like top 4 best midfield pairings in the league, alongside Chelsea.
Certainly outside the super clubs.
Yeah, outside like obviously you've got your Chelsea and City, Liverpool, but then we're looking at like Declan Rice and Souček surely as being the next best pairing in the league. Like, it's better than Man United's midfield. It's probably better than Arsenal's. Maybe better than Tottenham's right now in terms of form, certainly. So outside of those 3 super clubs, I'd have West Ham centre mids over anyone.
And what would you put those the evolution of players like Rice and Antonio down to? Is that does David Moyes deserve an awful lot of praise for that, or are they just coming of age? Is it just other circumstances?
Moyes definitely has to get some credit for it. With Rice, part of it is just developing and having had a lot of minutes at a young age, and he's incredibly durable. Because he was like so rarely getting injured. He did get so many minutes as a kid, essentially, and it is just the hardest proving ground in the world. Like, you're gonna get good or you're gonna get dropped, and he got good. I mean.
When Souček arrived as well, he was like, "Thank God I don't have to cover for Mark Noble."
Yeah. Well, and also they've got good defensive fullbacks, especially Soufal. But I think with Antonio's a really hard one, because Antonio's basically got every physical gift you could want. But I also think now the way they have that little kind of box so they can like hit the ball on, they've got a bunch of guys to win it, and then they've got people they can knock it down to, like. It really works well for Antonio because it takes advantage of the fact he can pretty much bully any defender he wants to, and he's always got support. And then everyone crashes the box, and because there are so many people defenders have to take care of, they have to take care of Souček as well as all the attacking mids and Antonio. Antonio's gonna get chances, but I mean you kind of got an argument that like since the start of 2021, like is Antonio the best like English striker in the Premier League? Like.
Jamaican now, is he? Has he turned out for Jamaica yet?
I think he has, yeah. But come on, like there was a point where like England could have just called him up and made him a striker, for them.
He has been sensational.
With Calvert-Lewin go through injuries, with Harry Kane, like kind of still needing to have his fitness managed. Antonio is he's a real weapon, and I absolutely hate watching my team play against him.
Yeah, but West Ham are fun to watch, aren't they, at the moment? They are like a really good watch. And there's so many fun players.
What was super interesting when David Moyes was on in between jobs, he went to study RB Leipzig, and you can kind of see a little bit of the Ralf Rangnick's RB Leipzig in West Ham. It's like tactical kick and chase sometimes, isn't it? And when like Poulsen used to bring it down for like Campbell and the Swedish
Forsberg,
and they would just always be around, and that's kind of like Ben Rama and Fornals as well. And you're just like, there's always someone there picking up a second ball, and it is really fun to watch.
But Rice is going seriously to the top. I think he'll go City in the summer.
I listed some.
He's obvious for United though, isn't he?
It's so obvious for United, but I just think that City are gonna usurp United.
I don't know. We always, every summer, we're like, City have to go and get a midfielder, and every summer they're just like, nah, let's
can't
just
be
do this
bothered.
again.
Fernandinho's
drinking unicorn
39
blood.
Yeah,
still
exactly.
playing first against
Fernandinho's
season.
like on the road game.
Surely this is the summer they replace Fernandinho with somebody like Rice, and
Yeah.
it's got to be done.
I mean, either way,
He's still doing it though,
West Ham
Fernandinho.
stand to an absolute
Oh
coin
my
if-
God.
if a battle like that engages.
How much do we think he legitimately goes for next summer, Rice? Because they were
he gets
rejecting
better
moves
this
of like
season.
75 million. Yeah, he's already looking way better than he did last season. Like the Euros has sent his confidence through the roof.
What's his contract situation? It's still quite
It's
long.
long,
Isn't it?
2026, I think, 2025. I think
Yeah.
it's a bit of a Jack Grealish. He was obviously rejecting contracts this summer. I think 3 contracts he's rejected, and was unhappy with the valuation. I remember reading an article by Matt Law in the Telegraph. He was unhappy with the valuation West Ham had put on him, which was 100 million. And he wanted to be sort of appraised of offers around 60 to 70 million pounds. West Ham just have no need to sell him.
He's going to go for
100
100 though, I think, next year probably.
Yeah, I think so as
I
well.
think if you
he
get
did
an offer
region.
of 100, like at this point, like yes, he is an amazing player, but I think if you're West Ham, you think, God, we could do quite a lot with 100 million.
Yeah.
And when people's finances recover from COVID a little bit, that's not going to sound as outrageous as it would have this summer. Like people got their neck is in a twist over Jack Grealish going for 100, and
But Jack was smart because he wrote it into his contract. He had a release clause put in there at 100. Whereas Declan Rice might well, I'm not saying he will, might well find himself in a Harry Kane situation where it's a bit of a back and forth between him and the club, which you don't want to happen because he's obviously club cap. I think he's captain at the moment, isn't he, over Mark Noble now, and he's a West Ham academy boy. Obviously loves the club. I could see there being a bit of friction there next summer.
there's a big difference between his market value and his value to his club.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's the sticking point, right? I listed some European players as well if you wanted to go through them quickly. Like,
Yeah,
just
go on.
Jamal Musiala, how good has he been at the start of the season?
Yeah.
Have you seen any of him? It's
Not
just
really.
Him and Bellingham.
just four goal involvements in what, like, was it one start? Like
Yeah,
over
but a lot of subs.
Yeah,
shoot,
like,
for instance, as well.
over 3 dribbles per night. He's been an
Yeah.
absolute nuisance for Bayern Munich. Like Lamella's playing well, Vinicius Junior. I of course listed Joe Hart down, who captained Celtic last night. Legend already. Moussa Diaby. Seen a lot of people tweet about him.
Yeah, filthy.
Vinicius Junior, who.
Yeah, you just said Vinicius Jr.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Sorry,
But
I
you're
wasn't
right.
listening.
To say him
Outrageous.
again, that good.
Say him
mention
again.
twice. Yeah.
Yeah, because
He's
Henry Hill, I believe the proclamation from Henry Hill was
Proclamation.
He's absolute rubbish, which is
That is
now
such a Henry Hill
which is
opinion.
now coming back to bite him so badly because
He's
he
so
is
good.
so good.
He's so good.
Absolute class.
Another example of what happens if you just get a ton of minutes when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And also if you've got the most insane physical gifts.
Yeah.
Like just watching him blow past guys, like in a game where actually Real Madrid should probably have lost to Inter in the Champions League. Like he was just absolutely like killing people on the wing. It was
Steam,
great.
Yeah, so quick. Should we do some quick fires then?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Do some quick fires. Mitchell Waldock says Rice is the best DM in the world. I don't think he's the best DM in the world.
Don't
I
be
do
silly.
think it's Fabinho,
I tweeted it's Fabinho.
but I mean.
Fabinho is
When he's
so
Fabinho's
good.
age, he will be.
He's
You know what I
27,
mean?
Fabinho,
yeah, he's
right,
5 years younger than Fabinho. So
Are we not counting like N'Golo Kante as one of these anymore?
Is N'Golo Kante an out-and-out defensive midfielder anymore?
Yeah, but what does that mean? Like, is there any such like is Rice an out and out? You were just talking like what you were saying was so great
Yeah,
about Rice.
true.
Is ability to
I mean,
carry the ball
Fabinho
forward.
is though, isn't he? Like Fabinho isn't really.
But that's a way of just saying like Fabinho is more limited than those
it's
other
true.
players.
It's true.
Like,
Yeah.
Which he is.
I think Fabinho is the best for me. I think I love Kante, do love him, but the injuries are starting to hamper him. He is 30, 24 starts last season, 20 the season
No, I
before
agree.
that.
But when he's on the pitch,
Yeah,
I
when he's
think
on the
better.
pitch, he is just outrageous. But I would go Fabinho across the course. If you're giving me across the course of the season, I'll take Fabinho. On an individual night, I'd take Kante.
Yeah, so,
I think
so important to Liverpool as well.
Kimmich playing DM.
Oh, f***ing forgot
Kimmich playing
Yeah,
DM
totally
is
forgot
pretty
Kimmich.
special.
Yeah.
And as just like a destroyer, like I mean, I was actually just reading about like the FIFA ratings this week, and I saw Casemiro's got an 89, which made me laugh. But as an out and out destroyer, he is really, really good. And then there are guys like Aurelien Chouameni, and I don't know who else is there. There must be a bunch of guys.
Kimmich's creative output, by the way, is outrageous. I was looking at his FB ref today, and he is in the 99 percentile for midfielders in expected assists, progressive passes.
He's just like Trent.
Chances.
They're
He's
so
literally
similar.
just like Trent, but playing in defensive midfield.
Interesting, you call it FB ref. I call it FBref. What do you call it?
FB ref.
I think just me then. Right.
Football
fair.
reference.
Football
isn't it?
reference. That's what I think it is,
fair.
right?
I just spelled
FBref.
FBref.
Bref.
Chouameni though, I've been like tapping into his numbers recently, and he after another year of doing what he did last season, I imagine a lot of Premier League clubs, maybe the one that doesn't get Declan Rice, will settle on Tchouaméni. Like, Tchouaméni over 5 defensive actions last season.
He'll go
Like,
to PSG though, won't he?
Super smart guy as well. How many DMs do you see that win more fouls than they concede?
He's going to go PSG.
Tchouaméni's one of those guys. If that'd be so boring, and and they've got Verratti. I mean, what if that Herrera goes? I guess
It's going to be Herrera and Idrissa
Idrissa
Gana
Gueye.
out next summer, isn't it? And then it'll be somebody like Tchouaméni or Pogba in. Like 2 different players, but they're going to want like
United
a
should be
midfielder.
in for Tchouaméni if they
but
want.
we're not
There were
smart enough to do
rumours,
that.
though,
We're not
weren't
smart
there
enough
not?
to do that. There were rumours, but I think it's just like we're not smart enough to do that, and I just can't see it. Like United are just going to try and get Rice, aren't they? It's like the obvious one for them, and we're an obvious club. Like we're not a club that's going to do smart round the back business.
Like that's somewhere you were linked to like Badiashile.
Yeah, it's
you
just-
know, like,
you
it's
know
like
it's not
United
happening.
definitely going to buy
Yeah.
an 18-year-old centre back from Monaco.
Definitely
That's the
not
kind of
going to
thing they
happen.
do.
Like even Camavinga this summer was like, nah, it's not happening, is it? Like
he is outrageous.
Yeah, he is outrageous.
His assist.
Oh no, outrageous.
Insane.
The next one, Lebo Gang says Tomori or Ben White, who starts for you?
Tomori's less limited physically,
Yeah.
like he is, but I don't know. I think it really depends. I think if you're playing a back 3 like Ben White, if you're playing a 4-back like maybe Tomori. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
I'd
think,
agree.
I think Ben White just does need like a big physical like centre back on one side of him and a physical right back on the other side. And if Arsenal end up playing Gabrielle on one side and Tomiyasu on the other, I think they'll be absolutely fine. But generally speaking, like Ben White is a bit of a problem in the air, like he is. And you hope the rest can make up for it. Now against Norwich, it looked like it did. Against against Brentford, maybe not. So I don't know. Like I'll need to watch more of Tomori this season, but also Tomori's playing in a side that is just much more coherent, playing a lot better right now. So maybe for the moment Tomori, but who knows in the long
Yeah,
term.
I agree with the back 3, back 4 statement, to be honest with you.
I think Tomori is probably the more complete player at the moment, but and Ben
think
White's
so.
a bit more of a specialist. And yeah, Tomori has Simon Kier playing next to him, Teo Hernandez, like Calabria's got. It's an experienced.
It's a much
back
more
line.
easy back line to
Benacer
drop
in
into.
front of them.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
Frank Kessié, he's a little bit better protected as well. But there were moments last season where he was the exceptional defender, which was truly impressive. So I think it's quite neck and neck at the moment. But
Yeah. Okay, the next one. I think we've covered a very similar one to this on the podcast, Pat. HM2 says, will Aubameyang score 15 plus league goals this season? Now, we did higher or lower, didn't we, at
12, I think
12?
it was. Yeah.
So you should take this one. But do you think he's going to get 15 plus? Well, why don't we just do it as the same higher or lower question? So the higher or lower question Pat asked, what was it?
Yeah, it was like, do you reckon it was like over under like 12 league goals for Aubameyang this season?
that's a good threshold as well. 12.
Yeah.
That's a really
I think it's
difficult
over.
threshold.
I think it's
We
over.
both said over.
Yeah, if he's taking pens as well.
If he's just starting up front, like will Arsenal actually have some creative players now? Like if you look at his numbers before Christmas last season, they were
Bad.
so bad.
Yeah.
He looked finished. If you look at his numbers after Christmas, they look like world class again.
Yeah.
Like XG numbers, his shot numbers were better. And I think I'm not saying he's going to be like back to his best, but I just think playing up front for a side that has Odegaard, Saka, Smith Rowe, Tierney behind him, like he's gonna score some goals.
No, I'm a bit of an Aubameyang apologist. I think he's going to be. I think he'll be fine. And what is it? A hat trick in the cup and a goal against Norwich.
It was against West Brom's under 2s. Though.
Yeah, but from a confidence point of view, which clearly last season he did suffer with bouts of that, and that's to be expected when you've got his mum was ill, he had malaria at one point, didn't he, and lost a bunch of weight. Like
he's had COVID.
COVID really took its toll on him. I don't think people really gave him, to use a word we've used like 4 times in the show already, enough bandwidth. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I said 13. So I don't think he'll get 15 plus in the words of HM2.
15 would be a success.
It'll be a
Big
better
success,
season
yeah.
for him. I think we all agree he'll be better this season than he was last season, but
Yeah.
because Arsenal will be better.
Yeah. All right. The last one then, personal question from King Tebe, who says, which snacks do you go for when going cinema? Firstly, I don't buy snacks in the cinema.
No,
Who?
you take him
Mugs.
yourself.
I've
Mugs
got to
game.
take him in.
Yeah,
It's a
elite.
Mugs game to buy them in the cinema because it's £8 for a packet of minstrels. Although I do buy large popcorn in the cinema.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not a big popcorn
Salted
guy.
popcorn in the cinema. There's just that. It's got something about it.
Okay, but salted popcorn versus sweet popcorn.
That made it seem seedy.
No,
Like,
don't buy
sweet popcorn is-
mate.
Sweet popcorn
What, you think
is...
sweet's the weirder one?
Yeah, sweet
Yeah,
popcorn's
definitely,
disgusting,
mate. It's
man.
vile.
It's not necessarily that it's weird. It's that
It
it's
sums you up as a bloke
disgusting.
if you like it.
Like
Last
that
week
toffee
you said
popcorn
he
and
said
stuff is-
cheese was overrated last week. This week,
What do you
it's
mean?
salt popcorn
What do you
over
mean
sweet.
cheese is overrated?
Firstly, I think I caveated cheese being overrated with blue cheese because I didn't like it.
Okay, that's fair enough.
But sweet popcorn is just
Actually disgusting.
it tastes like it's stale.
He's
Like
right.
it's like chewy.
No,
not
you
like,
are right.
It's like it's where they've soaked in the sugar into it and it doesn't sit properly.
Yes.
It gets like chewy and
Nice.
like gammy. It's no good. Get salted popcorn,
Salted
and an
popcorn is
extra
so
large
much better.
Coke.
Okay.
But even salted
Or a
popcorn,
Tango
I
Ice
can
Blast.
take or
The
leave.
Ice Blast is like the only thing I'd consider buying because the first hit of it, the first 3 gulps are world
Yeah,
class.
really.
Well, when it's like feeling like you're 6.
You get a mix, pink and blue.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Cool.
Whenever there is more than one colour, you say, "Give me all the colours."
Yeah.
You know?
You want a mix one?
But then
I'm a moron.
I usually do take an extra large popcorn or a large popcorn, large Coke / Tango Ice Blast if they've got it, and then I'll take in the back pocket a chocolate and a sweet.
My wife always brings 2 separate Tupperwares. It's like a mix of
Tupperwares.
shit. Like so, yeah. So
you're not
Is that like
rustling?
under
so
the
it'd be
prank?
like, yeah, exactly.
So you're not
Because we don't,
rustling?
yeah, because we like to be
Nice,
quiet in the
I
cinema,
respect it.
and so like
That's
there'll be
so
like some
respectful.
little gummy sweets, some chocolate, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like the Tupperware idea, although I always get worried that they're going to like, pat me down, even though I know it's not going to happen.
Nah.
I get really grumpy with rustlers in the
Yeah,
cinema
exactly.
and
Yeah,
like
so-
phone lights on, like standing up and saying "excuse me," you know, like becoming like a Karen about it.
Do you
It's
say
just
that?
It's unacceptable. Oh yeah, for sure. And Lauren's like, "Don't make a scene."
No.
I'm just like, "No, I've paid 14 quid for this."
Yeah,
yeah.
I've got in arguments after the cinema before, like where someone like towards the end start talking, and afterwards I was just like I genuinely am raging.
Yeah.
Like I told somebody she like didn't deserve to have kids or something. Like after
I've never gone that
thing.
far.
But
you know-
she was just like, oh, fuck her. I hope she's dead.
Do you know what?
Oh,
I mean, double bleep from
all of
Jed. out
that.
there.
You can bleep all of
But
I stand by it.
you know
I'll
what's
put it on
all
Twitter.
of that.
You know what's a world class cinema snack?
This could be anything.
No, minstrels and.
Why are they called minstrels still?
I don't
Retire
know.
that name.
Yeah, for sure. Cancel that name.
Why? What does it mean?
Never mind.
Let's
and
not-
then
let's not get into it.
Well,
Googleable.
I went to call them opal fruits. Then that shows how
Yeah,
old I am. Starburst.
they were better in those days.
Starburst. Because
Nah.
they last a little bit longer.
No, but they're not
Nah,
good.
but then
They're
you've got to
not
unwrap them.
delicious.
You know, once you've got to unwrap in the cinema.
That's a good point.
Thing.
They do unwrap quietly. I'll give you that. But
Yeah.
also,
Soft
the reward
paper.
for unwrapping them, not worth it.
No, it is because if
No,
you
it
put,
isn't.
You eat
if
them
you
with
put
the
two
paper on.
together,
No, I don't eat them.
eat with the paper.
Yes, that's the answer. I eat them.
No.
I don't really like them. I eat them with the paper.
Get 2 of them. Make a little Starburst sandwich. Lovely.
No.
Nah.
Is
Is that called just like a refresher?
Some-
Refreshers are sick.
Sometimes
Refreshers are sick.
Yeah, I mean, let's move on.
Or those drumstick
No, listen,
squashies.
no,
they're
listen.
good.
They're good.
There was a
good.
period of
Cinema.
times where the Odeon did a like child's meal, like
Don't tell me
I can just imagine you
Nachos.
going
Not
in there
na-
being like,
not
a
nachos.
snack box, but it was like $2.50. It was like what were those
$2.50?
Robinson's
Not nachos.
fruit shoot, like
No,
a
not good.
reasonable sized popcorn,
Awful.
and a chocolate.
That's so bad.
And then everyone was
That's
buying them, and
horrible.
they stopped them.
That's a horrible
No,
selection.
great- it was
of
great
things.
Robinson's fruit shoot is awful.
Yeah.
It was great value.
Awful.
You're
Yeah.
a big
It's
fan of just
Robinson's
like pure
fruit shoot is
preservatives.
the only liquid that dries your mouth.
Yeah, a
out.
bit of gin in there.
It's unreal. Honestly, it's so bad.
Yeah, not a fan.
I'm trying to think of something I might have forgot. I do just think white chocolate Milky Bars.
Yeah, good.
Are the
Just
best.
a
Milky Bar
soft-
buttons.
Very good. Very
Something
good.
Soft.
Should we wrap it up then?
I'm
Anything
not
else you
finished.
want
Oh,
to talk about?
McFlurry. My Emma also
Take your McFlurry into
no,
the cinema.
No,
you
Emma
weirdo.
also would get 2 McFlurries, put them in her bag, take them into cinema, kick it off with a McFlurry. It's excellent.
Surely a bag was just swimming in cream.
Yeah.
No, you could just stand them up.
What is it? What, but did you scrape at the end though?
No. What? To
All the
an-
little
to an
chocolatey bits at the
extent.
bottom.
To
You were
an
a
extent.
scraper.
As soon as
You
I,
were.
You've been
as soon as
uncovered,
I,
you've been
as soon as
uncovered.
I hear the slightest noise, I'm just like, just launch it across the ring. Yeah.
I bet you do though. When you get to the bottom, I bet you are
Not in the cinema.
digging out.
Not in the
So
cinema.
you
That's
just
what I'm
leave a
saying.
layer of cream, do you?
No, you can just do it quietly. It'll melt, and then
Yeah.
you can drink.
I knew you was gonna do that. All right, let's wrap it up then. Do we need to say again? Thanks very much to Manscaped for sponsoring
can we ever say
this video.
Thank you enough.
Go on, Pat. Do the line.
If you want to join the 2 million people worldwide who pamper their balls with Manscaped, then head to manscaped.com and use the code FootballDaily20 for 20% off and free shipping.
Yes.
Amazed I remembered that.
We need to get the Kiwi like they do on Arsenal Fan TV. I don't know if everybody's seen the Arsenal Fan TV
No, I'm all right.
one where they do the Manscaped. It's Ty shaving a Kiwi.
Are you
like
saying
a
our
ball.
plugs aren't inventive?
Not as inventive as Arsenal Fan TVs. They're good, but Pato's tried his best. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, everybody. Submit your questions during the week.
Non-stop with one of
Hit the
these.
like button. Let us know some questions in the comments below. Yeah. Bye-bye.